Believe it or not, we're already 11% through 2021. In this episode, we're going to take a step back and reflect on the year so far and then make a new plan going forward. Okay, let's get to it. Welcome back to the podcast. This is season 1, episode 6, and in this episode, we're going to review the year so far. So if you think back to episode 1 of the podcast, we talked about the importance of goal setting and having a plan. Well, being 11% through the year and 6 weeks into the year, I think now's the perfect time to kind of take a step back, look at that plan and just kind of reflect on where we are. And I think it's important we don't just let time slip by, we don't lose track of time. And in this lockdown world we're living, it's very easy to lose track of time. And as I've been talking to some of my friends, some of my clients, every day is starting to feel the same. I live on my own, I live in one room basically, and that's my bedroom, my living room, my spin studio, my office. And when it comes to the weekend, there's no going to the pub, there's no going out, there's no socialising, it's all just blended into one. And I think it's important to kind of not lose track of time and all of a sudden wake up and it's March, April, and we're not where we want to be. So I'm going to give you some tips during this episode as a chance to reflect back, as a point to go, right, this has happened so far, you're either happy or you're not happy with what you've done so far in 2021, and then kind of get a second wind to go and finish and get this year back up and running. So where to start with reflecting back on the year so far? So let's talk about fitness, and before we get into like performance goals and hardcore tracking like that and numbers like that, I think there's a more basic level we can look at. So with like fitness, you can kind of measure like your frequency, like have you been consistent? If your goal was to train 3 times a week and we're 6 weeks into the year, have you done 18 sessions so far? Have you done 18 hours of fitness? That's just a simple yes or no, and that's something to reflect back on. Same as if your goal is 4 times, 5 times. So I think the first thing to look at is frequency. How many times have you been training? And you can measure that by like using apps. All my clients use apps because that's how I deliver my programming. Or you can just have a simple whiteboard on the wall. You can tick it off in your diary. Have a paper calendar that you circle off the days you train. But if your goal is to train 3 times a year, we're 6 weeks 3 times a year, 3 times a week. We're 6 weeks into the year so far. You should have done 18 sessions. So that's like the first bit you can kind of reflect back on. The next for like fitness is activity level, like how many steps are you doing a day, for example. That's something we should keep a track on. Whatever you're doing now, just go onto your iPhone, go to health, the Apple Health app, click on that, click steps, and then it breaks it down into days, weeks, months. Just click month and just see how many steps you've averaged per day over the last month. If that's below 5,000 steps on average per day, you are way off track of how much moving you should be doing in a day. If your 5,000 should be your absolute minimum, you should be aiming to do per day, so 35,000 in a week. If you're absolutely killing it and you're having a big focus on getting your steps up, then you can aim for 8,000, 10,000 steps per day, and you can do that on an average. But I always think it's best to work on an average over the month, because some days you can't go out. The day I'm filming this is snowing outside, so 10,000 steps today is probably a bit dangerous, maybe not worth doing. Where what you can do instead is do whatever steps you do today, go out for a little bit, and then come the back end of the week, on the weekend when it's a little bit drier, then start clocking up 10, 12,000 steps to bring your average up. So I like reviewing steps, for example, on a month basis of average steps per day of how much you've done, because life does get in the way, work gets in the way of doing steps. But that's something to reflect back on. How much moving have you done in the last month? If it's below 5,000, you need to get moving. There's a lot more long-term health implications that will come in with not moving, such as injuries, little niggles, back injuries from just kind of not opening your hips and getting out and about. Never mind weight loss or fat loss goals. If you don't do your steps, you're just going to create issues later on down the line for no reason. Next we kind of got is sleep. So are you tracking your sleep? Are you in a routine? Are you going to bed at the same time every night? Are you waking up at the same time every morning? You can have a bit of fun on the weekend, stay up a bit later, wake up a bit later. But during the week, whether you're working from home or you're furloughed, you need You need routine in your life. For when we go back to normal, you need to be able to go straight back into that natural swing that we just get used to. Especially if you're furloughed and you might not like have a reason to set an alarm. You should still be, right, my working week, I would go to bed at 11, wake up at 7 or whatever, then do that, continue to do that, keep that body clock running, get into that sleep pattern routine, and that will help you have energy today to do stuff. It'd be quite easy, I mean, I'm not furloughed, it'd be quite easy, I can imagine if you are furloughed, to kind of not have that drive almost to get up or to set an alarm for 6 a.m, but the difference it will make in your day and the ability for you to be productive and read and do other stuff would make a huge difference. So make sure you're in a sleep routine. If we're back from working from home, again, make sure you have a strict routine of when you finish work, and make sure you are getting your 8 hours sleep every night, or at least 8 hours of downtime, minimum of 7 hours sleep per night. So that's something to reflect on, where your sleep pattern is. Next would be nutrition. Have you got any bad habits? Has any bad habits slipped in? Have you got over like the Christmas kind of period? Or have you continued that on? Is it like Christmas Day in your house every day at the moment? Is there sweets and fun food everywhere? With nutrition, I've done a spill on nutrition about tracking and kind of measuring your food and kind of seeing and understanding the numbers. You don't even have to go that far. Nutrition is something if you're on track. And when I talk about numbers, I talk about kind of fine tuning and getting into it, which I think everyone should do, and everyone should educate themselves on nutrition. But where are you at the moment? Do you even know where you are? Are you in a routine? Have you got bad habits slipping in? That's something that's very easy to do. And with nutrition, that could even be like how much water you drink in a day. Are you tracking that? Are you drinking a minimum of 2 litres of water a day? Or are you on 5 coffees, 2 teas, and a shot glass of water? Are you someone like that? That's something else you can track and reflect back on. Next would be mobility, and looking after your body, longevity of your body. I did a big piece on this in one of the episodes of, if you can get away with a lot, but if you start sitting down too much and you're not moving, you're not doing your steps, you'll eventually build up these niggles and injuries that will turn bigger and bigger, and then you'll need physio and chiropractors later on in life for no reason, just for the fact that you've neglected kind of movement and moving the body as where it's meant to move. So are you someone that's currently suffering with like a little niggle, and you said you're going to start stretching every day, or you're going to start adding like a mobility routine in your life, and you started for a bit and then stopped? Reflect back on how much time you spend in recovering from your training or recovering from sitting down all day if you're pretty desk bound. And then we can dive into performance kind of measure goals. So this is with like tracking your metrics. So if you're somebody that wanted to run a 5k in a certain time, wanted to back squat a 3 rep max at a certain weight, is this week your test week? When is your test week? Are you on track of your numbers? That's something else to reflect on. That's a little bit more advanced, but I've got some of my clients going for a test week this week, and then we'll reflect and then write a new training program. Are you doing just body weight stuff at home, or just you've got one dumbbell, so you're doing like a workout? Where's that program going? Just have to kind of make just a few little check-in with yourself to make sure you're on track with those performance goals. And then I guess the final thing you can reflect on is life goals. So I talked about this in episode 1 of like writing fitness goals, writing life goals, and some of my life goals were release a podcast a week, release a YouTube video a week, read a book a month. 2 out of 3 are very much on track. I'm still a bit behind on my reading, but the other 2 are very much on track. But that's a bit of a wake-up call for me. I said it in episode 1, I struggle with reading at night, and I'm still struggling with that. But the other 2, I've absolutely flying. I'm releasing a podcast a week, and my YouTube's kind of growing quite steadily. So a few things going right, but something else to reflect on, and let's see if I can turn that around by the end of the month. So a little bit of advice I give to people is always break your year into quarters. So you work 3 months at a time, and then just have a goal for that quarter. And I'm talking about fitness goals, business goals, life goals. Have a goal for that quarter, and then work your ass off to achieve that goal. That's how you can reflect back and go, quarter 1 of 2021 was actually pretty good. I achieved this, this, and this. Quarter 2, in that 3 month period, I'm going to aim to achieve this. That's a great way to work. With training, a 12-week block is like an ideal amount of block to go through like 2 training phases, say 2 6-week training phases, or 3 4-week training phases to reach a goal. With everything else, 12 weeks is a healthy amount of time for you to achieve, something significant. So break a year into quarters and then start working towards achieving something in that quarter. So where we are now, we're halfway through quarter one, so you've got 6 weeks to either, if you're on track with everything, then great, crack on. If you're not on track with anything you said you'd do in January, now's the time to kind of, okay, right, I've been a bit down with COVID, I've been a bit pissed off with this situation, now it's time to go, right, what do I want to achieve by the time we hit April? You know, what do I want to achieve by the time this quarter one is over? You know, that if you constantly make little jumps like that, you're always achieving, you're always progressing, you're always moving on, and you'll be surprised what you can achieve within a year. So this was always going to be a shorter episode, because this is all about you and you taking ownership for where you are at the moment. 6 weeks into 2021, you know, we've all had our time to get used to this lockdown. We've all had our time to kind of get pissed off with this lockdown, and now it's time to go, right, okay, 6 weeks in, 6 weeks left of this quarter. What did I say I wanted to do? How am I going to achieve this in the last 6 weeks? And it's time to start putting some work in. You know, maybe upping your training, really committing to the training, fine tuning like how many steps you're doing, fine tuning your nutrition, making sure you're sleeping 8 hours a day. You know, and then just looking at every aspect of things you wanted to improve on and work on, and now just hitting it hard for the next 6 weeks so you can finish quarter one strong. So as I said, have a focus and go get it. Go work your ass off for the next 6 weeks and have a good quarter. This is the last episode of season 1 of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've not listened to the other episodes, go back and listen to them. Go watch them on YouTube. They'll be available forever. So go back and catch up with everything I've said so far. Hopefully find some good useful tips in there. What's happening next week is I'm going to start a round of special guest interviews where I'm going to bring in a special guest that specialises in a certain subject, and we're going to talk about that subject. So I've got 3 good interviews lined up, and then I'm going to go back onto season 2, and I've got some great stuff lined up for season 2. So make sure you subscribe to whatever channel you're watching this on, and just keep an eye out for what's coming up. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to reach out, and have a good rest of quarter one.